My name's Enoch Weng.
Great. And what's your program?
I study finance.
What year are you in?
My last year.
Your last year? Awesome. Great. And introduce yourself.
My name is Ed Iskra. I'm the Director of Communications for the Bitcoin Gold organization.
So I hear you have some questions. You want to fire away?
Yeah, I'm just really interested in cryptocurrency in the markets. I have a couple questions if you don't mind. One of the things that's always on people's minds is when I look at cryptocurrency, one thing that's always been asked around is it a Ponzi scheme? I just wanted to know kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Well, for a coin like Bitcoin or Bitcoin Gold, it's absolutely not a Ponzi scheme because there isn't an entity that's taking in the money that's being used to fund the cryptocurrency. It's being traded on open exchanges all throughout the world. So these are open, free, and fair markets. Now, you have to worry a little about whether your particular market is being a fair one. So to that end, we would hope to have honest actors, but also eventually government regulations that enforce free, fair, and open markets. But given a market mechanism, it can't be a Ponzi scheme.
Right. No, that's a great answer. Thanks for that. Because what we saw recently was the valuations were very high in all the crypto markets. It crashed. And some people could say it's because of people's expectation and evaluations in there that was uncurbed, like you said, with regulations. Kind of how do you see the future of the markets and the cryptocurrencies aligning in the future as we go on in the next few years?
That is a great question. I think also a large part of that speculative bubble that we saw through December of last year was funded by the idea that there was a sort of mania taking over and people were doing things like buying a speculative investment using their credit cards. Now, lately what we've seen is a lot of organizations self-censoring. For example, Visa has stopped allowing their cards to be used to purchase cryptocurrencies. We've seen a lot of government stepping in to regulate. As a rule, people in cryptocurrency don't like governments doing things. They don't like that kind of centralized power. But when it comes to preventing people from doing things like borrowing money and generating debt in order to speculate on something that's extremely volatile, it's probably good for the industry. We've pulled back from the highs of that bubble, but we have stabilized and we're currently on a rise again. I think it's more comfortable for the industry to grow steadily and gradually than to have that sort of skyrocket and drop, skyrocket and drop. I mean, as a business major, I'm sure you've heard the markets hate uncertainty. Yes. Steady growth is where it's at, and that's what we're focusing on.
Perfect. Could you tell me a little bit about Bitcoin Gold? I know I hear gold in it, so I think, is it a mimic of gold? Is it an index? Kind of what's going on there?
Yeah, the gold is a catchy name, but it confuses people sometimes. Really, Bitcoin Gold is a version of Bitcoin which was designed to work with graphics cards, with GPUs. That's where the G originally came from, Bitcoin with a G. But then the Bitcoin Gold idea caught on and it was kind of hard to get away from it. It's catchy. But really it's about the GPUs, the graphics cards. We wanted to allow individuals like yourself who might have a computer with a graphics card to be able to use existing hardware to mine. You don't just have to buy special hardware that does nothing else from a company that's overseas that charges a huge amount of money and controls the supply.
Right, for sure.
Instead, you already have something you can use to mine, which is sort of in line with the original Bitcoin. Back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, if you had a computer and you had Bitcoin, you were a miner. Users were holders, were miners. It's the same people involved. That's why the system was designed to allow miners to be voting by setting their miner to express their opinion. Right. But once specialty equipment was created, ASIC miners, and all the power of mining started accumulating in big warehouses in China, they had all the votes and the users had no power. Right. So we're trying to decentralize that power, return power to all the individuals who are using the coin by making sure that it always works on commodity hardware, consumer hardware that you could buy in any corner electronics store. Right.
No, that's a great answer. Thank you. Because I know personally, a lot of my friends do a little bit of mining at home, and it's great that you're putting the power to the people. I was just wondering, because you mentioned that, for example, overseas, there's large warehouses who are doing large volumes of mining. How will you counteract that when you said you're giving the power to the people, but how can you, for example, regulate the presence of these miners or the so-called whales to protect, for example, people like me who want to mine and want to get in, but knowing that the hash might get harder and harder as people mine more and more?
Well, part of that answer comes from the fact that if too many people mine, whether they're professionals or individuals, if too many people mine, the difficulty goes up and the profitability goes down. Right. So if you're a large organization and the margins are slim, you're not going to go crazy investing in this stuff to try and mine a whole lot of it. Right. Which means that then the individual who already owns a graphics card, you don't have to buy it to mine, you already own it for other purposes, then you're free to participate without losing money. The reason you can't participate when the big miner is playing is because they drive up the difficulty and you would lose money and they have special situations. But once things level out, you should be able to participate without having a huge net loss. You could probably have a tiny profit, but it's not going to be something that everyone's going to do for profit.
Right. Thank you for all your answers. I just have one last one. Sure. Yeah. So for students like myself and for other people who want to get involved, want to know more, what's one advice you can give us students?
Well, one thing you could do is go to bitcoingold.org, our website. We have a variety of information for people who are interested in investing, but also people who are interested in mining. There are mining tutorials that are independently on the web that you can follow as well. It doesn't take much to get started, and it's a new technology. There's a learning curve, but once you learn, you've learned something that's going to be useful for the rest of your life, I should think.